Welcome to the Pet Photographers Club. Tune in as experts share their insights to help grow your business with higher sales, creative marketing, and kick-arse business strategies. Now on to the show.
Hello and welcome back to the Pet Photographers Club. I'm your host, Kirsty McConnell, and today I'm chatting with Jeff Brown, who you may know. He is the photographer's mentor. We've spoken about him pretty recently on the club. When Chris Miller was on a few episodes ago, he was mentioning that he did the LinkedIn course with Jeff. And I'm sure a few of the listeners, you guys might know him from a few other places as well. But today I'm excited to get Jeff onto the show to dive into something new. So Jeff, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
It's my pleasure. It's great to be here.
So just for those who don't know you, just quick overview of how you ended up becoming the photographer's mentor, where you're based in the world, and then we'll go from there.
Great. Well, so I'm a photographer myself, although not practicing commercially anymore now, just doing it for my own enjoyment. And my journey in photography started as a military photographer with the Royal Navy. I then went on to work with the intelligence services for 2 years as an image analyst. And when I was working for them, I started doing lots of portraits and weddings for people and thought, this is really good. I can make some money for this. So I ended up leaving the military. But when I left the military, you get a decent sized grant to spend on resettlement back into civilian life. And that was £7,500, which I spent on marketing. And that really got me into the whole marketing and branding bug. And then my business partner or future business partner left 6 months after that. He was a military photographer and he got £7,500. So we spent all this money on the marketing and branding aspect. And that's what helped develop our business. And we ended up having 5 businesses. Then fast forward to now, I've come away from the actual photography. I've set up the mentoring program, which has been going now for about 6 or 7 years. And I work with photographers in no less than 22 countries around the world. I've also written 3 best-selling books. And I'm soon to become president of the British Institute of Professional Photographers. I think that's going to be announced in the next couple of weeks because I've made it my mission to really help photographers everywhere in the world understand the value of brand and marketing, because images alone aren't going to make us money. We've got to have a premium brand. We've got to market ourselves correctly and get the right message out there.
Wow, I didn't know about that, Jeff. Congratulations on the appointment.
Thank you.
When do you take?
Well, it was confirmed a couple of weeks ago, and they're gonna. I think it's the official release is going to be in their magazine in the next week and a half. I've just had to write my little article to go in, but it's going to put me in a position where I can really help more people and get that message across there. And also, I feel that for the BIPP itself needs to change direction a bit more and be the professional association that helps photographers succeed. Because ultimately, if you're professional, that's what you want.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about building that brand and making money. Because pretty pictures don't pay the mortgage, but pretty pictures with a strong brand and the right marketing do.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's really exciting times ahead. So yeah, great. Congratulations. Now you
Thank
said
you.
something in your intro that definitely grabs my attention was that you spent your £7,500 on marketing. So can we this was not where we were going to go in the direction of the interview, but typical, I know. So let's not get stuck in the weeds too much, but can you give us an overview of where that money went?
So I didn't actually spend the £7,500 on marketing itself. I spent the £7,500 because I couldn't have done that with the grant that you get from the military. It has to be on training. So obviously we're fairly well trained photographers. The military does have quite an intensive photography training program and support all the way through your career. So I thought, well, we're fairly well trained. We don't need to go off and do more photography courses, and we can adapt what we've done to weddings and portraits. But we don't know how to run a business. So that money was spent on marketing courses and business courses. The first course I ever did was by an American guy called Charles Lewis. And that was back in 2002, I think, while I was still in the military. And that was, funny enough, we used to get a parcel sent out with CDs in, and you had to listen to the CD and then do your workbooks and stuff. And at the time, that was quite expensive. I think it was about £4,000. And that completely, it was like a wake-up call. because a lot of the stuff that was taught in there wasn't new. It wasn't like groundbreaking new sort of marketing. This is marketing and branding that has been around for about 100 years, probably longer, But as photographers, you don't think about it. As photographers, we think, right, we create a pretty picture, we put it on a website, and people will come along and buy. That's it. But our consumers aren't other photographers. Our customers aren't other photographers. They're actually consumers who have been branded and marketed to for ever since they were born. And we need to communicate to them in the language of consumers, not in the language of photographers. And then that suddenly became relevant. And even though there were much more experienced and much better skilled photographers out there than us at the time, because we'd been photographing tanks and guns and people in military uniform and ships and stuff like that. When we went into the wedding market, we became very successful very quickly with very little experience. But our customers were buying our brand, our perceived value, and everything we wanted them to think, feel, and believe about us. They weren't buying the images, because to them, our images were the same as everybody else's. 750 weddings, and most people would just say, "Oh, they look so clear," or "Oh, it's just the way I imagined the day would be." It never had a bride say to me, "Jeff, I really like the depth of field on that. And I love the leading lines on that picture," because they can't see that, but they can see the outer brand, and that's what attracted them.
Yeah, makes sense. I want to get deep into, how we can do that today, how we can, build that brand and everything shortly. But just before we do, quick question.
Mhm.
Today, if I was starting a brand new business, let's pretend I have no experience at all. I'm starting a brand new photography business and I have 7.5. Okay, let's make it 15 grand today.
Yeah.
I have 15 grand that's been handed to me that I can spend. Let's pretend I can spend on anything though. Where would you suggest that money goes?
Well, first of all, I don't think you need to spend a lot of money. That's the crazy thing. You don't need to spend a lot of money. The first thing you need to do, and I think this is the most powerful part of branding and marketing that photographers skip, is the brand itself. So brand is everything you want your customer to think, feel, and believe about you and your photography. Now, brand comes from colors, fonts, the look, the feel. And if you have a brand that is premium, so funny enough, you actually know what a premium brand is. Even if you've got no experience in marketing, you know what a premium brand is because you're attracted to them. You can walk down the high street and see what is a premium restaurant and what is a low-end restaurant because of the way what is called curbside appeal, how it looks to you from the outside, because you've been educated that these certain collections of fonts and colors and feel and all these little bits give that sort of premium ooze to it. So if you can project that through your website, your marketing, your social media, and look very high end, the perceived value of what you have to offer is greater because people think, "Oh, that looks premium." Premium means higher quality, better service. So they now start to have a higher perceived value. If you go into a store and see, you know, some standard candles and then these really nice beautifully boxed candles that are handmade and they've got lovely fonts on, and you will pay more for that because it just has it's that bespoke sort of high end feel. So what you need to do, one of the first things, is start to look at brands that your ideal clients love and they're attracted to. So the brand research and the colors and fonts are so important because that can portray a message that, if not right, can actually just drop the perceived value of your brand
So
to
Jeff,
your.
when you say the brand, you're referring to colors and fonts quite a bit. So are you thinking at the moment when you're saying this only visuals in terms of like logo, fonts, colors, this kind of thing? Or are you incorporating in brand also, the bigger picture that also incorporates, the language that you use and this kind of thing?
Yeah, so your brand is everything you want your customers to think, feel, and believe. So you need to ultimately get that across in the message that you have on your website text and in your brochures and your social media. If you want them to think that you're a photographer who cares, who has their best interest at heart, who's a dog lover too, then you need to communicate that. On our first ever website, we didn't go into, we didn't say things like, I first got a camera when I was 17-year-old, and we didn't talk about cameras. We didn't really talk much about photography. We talked about how we wanted brides and grooms to feel when we were working with them, because with the first business was the wedding website, and how that would completely put them at ease that we'd take care of the day, so they didn't have to worry about anything. We'd bring them to the right place at the right time. All they had to worry about and care about was mixing and enjoying the day with their families and friends and people they loved the most. And we even said, because between us we'd photographed most of the royal family and quite a lot of heads of state as military photographers, and we said it's with the same care and attention that we put into photographing the royalty that we will put into photographing you on your wedding day. So it was all about the service. And because remember, customer service is a big, huge thing. If you go to a restaurant and have a brilliant meal, but the customer service is crap, you're not going to go back. So your brand is more than just the visual aspect. It's all about that service and, communicating, I'm going to look after you, and giving that really nice feel about it. And it's how do you want people to feel when they perceive you and interact with you.
Okay. Now, earlier on, or just before, you mentioned the example of a storefront. You walk past a storefront and you immediately, as a consumer, understand where they sit in the market, if they're premium or entry level or whatever. Now, as a photographer, most of us, especially I'd say most of our listeners, don't have a studio with a storefront, or even
Yeah.
maybe don't even have a studio. So, like you with your weddings, like I think I caught before, our storefront, I guess, is our website. Is that what you're thinking?
Yes. Yeah. So your website is effectively your shop window to the world. Yeah.
Alrighty. So, what can we do on our website that kind of helps with this branding, making our client, feel what we want them to feel, see what we want them to see, and all of this kind of thing?
Well, there's the very first important bit is to realize that behavior on websites have changed. Now, when I started out professionally after leaving the military back in 2004, everyone was visiting websites through laptops and through desktops. So you would go to a website. The process was a lot slower. You would click on a website. You had all the navigation buttons across the top, and you'd probably take your time going through the navigation. Now people are faster moving. Reports are it's between about 3 seconds, 3 to 10 seconds is the maximum somebody will spend on your website if they're not engaged. Now 3 seconds probably allows them just enough time to look at your initial, what you call the hero section, the banner, the first bit of your website. You need to grab their attention straight away. So now you need a website that, first of all, is super fast loading. A website that isn't complex, the navigation is stripped right back. Because if you create what I call, and what Google is effectively looking for as well, because Google's SEO and what is important to Google now is what's on that homepage. And also for the client as well, because of the client's behavior. Clients are now landing on websites from mobile devices, and they're doing the same interaction as they do on Facebook and on LinkedIn and on Instagram. They're scrolling. They're not going across navigation buttons. They want a website that is super fast loading, connects with them, isn't complicated. They don't want to be trying to find, oh, how do I find out the price? How do I find out what's included in this package? What do I do next? All of that needs to be communicated on one simple scrolling website. And that is what is called a scroll to sale website, because Google knows the behavior has changed. And that is how we like to consume content. And ultimately, what you've got to remember is your website should have a single purpose. So if you go to my website single purpose is to pre-qualify people who want to work with me to a price. So that's why my price is on there on the website, and then direct them to take the next step. And the next step with my website is to book a consultation call. You can only do 4 things when you land on someone's website. You can call them directly, you can make a direct purchase, you can leave your email address in exchange for something, or you can schedule a consultation call for the future. That is the only 4 things you can actually do to get in touch with the photographer. The 5th thing you can do is hit the back button and go to the next search result where somebody prompts you. So your website must be a call to action to get people to do one of those 4 things, because if they don't do one of those 4 things and they go, that's it, they've gone. There's no point in having 4,000 unique views per month if nobody's actually getting in touch with you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, Jeff, you mentioned a couple of times then the recent Google changes, and I want to get into those in a bit more detail because I think it's something that's quite overwhelming for many of us, myself included, actually, like trying to keep up with it's bad enough that we have to keep up with the algorithms of like Instagram and Facebook and the changing things that they bring in. And now like also with Google, it feels like everything is changing really quickly, and I know you understand a lot of that pretty well. So I want to get into the details of that, but I'm going to save that for the second half of this interview for our members only. So I think what we might do is wrap up part 1 now. Before we do that, how can the listener find out more about what it is and what you offer them?
So you can go along to my website, which is thephotographersmentor.com. And I also have the photography website company that creates these scroll to a sale websites, which is called thephotographerssuite.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Jeff Brown, the Photographer's Mentor, and on Facebook, Jeff Brown, the Photographer's Mentor. And do reach out, drop me a connection, drop me a friend request. If you have any questions at all, drop me a message. I always respond back. I'm here to help people in the industry, build their brand. And so if I can help you, if I can answer your question, I will just leave you a little voice clip. That it doesn't, information and a little bit of advice doesn't cost. I'm more than happy to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I will pop the links to what you've just mentioned into the show notes. That's it for part 1 of this episode. If you're a member of the club, you can continue listening to part 2 in the member zone, or better yet, in your favorite podcast player with your private RSS feed. Don't forget, if you're not a member yet, you can join today. It's just $10 a month. Club membership includes loads of perks and bonus content. So head on over to thepetphotographersclub.com/join. You can join us today.
Thanks for listening to the Pet Photographers Club. To subscribe to the podcast, check out other episodes, and keep up to date, head to thepetphotographersclub.com.